All right. Apologize for the 5-minute delay in commencing this meeting, but this is the External Relations Committee meeting, Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. Would you please rise and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. All right. Since there's only two of us here, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm also here. So that concludes our roll call. At this time, we have public comment available. Members of the public may address the committee on any non-agendized item. The public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for consideration. That is a future agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody online wishing to comment? All right. Who might that be?
Hello.
Francisco, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir, and good afternoon. I think you may get into it. You'll stop me if you're going to get into the reports that external relations, it's on the agenda. I was more wondering, some meetings ago, Damon revealed a new report that they were working on, colloquially referred to as a heat map of the work orders and all of that. I wondered if that was going to be status, or is that going to be at a different meeting?
I think, yeah, that would probably be incorporated in Damon's ops report, the first board meeting of each month.
Okay, so okay.
Not today.
Is there any plan whatsoever to put some of that on the web so that it's not a once a month thing, but it's a, you can look at it anytime? No.
Probably not making that available on the website.
Okay. I will await the discussion about the other reports for further comment. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Moving on to the approval of the minutes of the May 28th committee meeting.
I reviewed them and I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for May 28th.
Okay. I reviewed them as well. And so that's a motion and I second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Okay, going on to item number 4, new business. 4A, discussion regarding the customer service and external affairs reports. Now, this is discussion regarding these reports. So I'm just trying to work out the best way to move forward with this, with the agendas of this meeting and the board meetings. Michael and I have come to the conclusion that some of the things that get reported to this committee about customer service and external affairs reports probably should be presented in front of the board. So we've made the decision to do that. At this, the items that we'll be discussing at this with this committee will be things that are related to the other aspects of our strategic plan that concerns itself with our interaction with partners, our interaction with legislative objectives like the clean fleet and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we'll have some discussion here, but it'll also go out to our legislative affairs committee. But anyway, the report, as I remember our discussion, Michael, the Kelly, the two Kellys, G and R, will not be giving concurrent reports. It'll be alternating reports each month. Is that correct to the board?
Yes, that's correct. So I think the plan is we'll continue to do the ops report the first board meeting of each month, and then alternate between customer service and external affairs the second board meeting of each month.
Okay. Now, having said all that, that was trying to explain how those reports will be coming to the board. However, that doesn't suggest in any way that if there is a a customer concern or some kind of a concern that Francisco or Michael or Mike want to bring before the external relations committee, that avenue is still open. We can discuss it and then take it to the board. So Cindy, do you have any comments on that?
I think that's a great idea because you and I sit here and listen to the reports and we have to listen to them again in the meeting. Not that they're not nice or anything like that, but it's time consuming. So I think that's good. And there's no reason why if there's a specific subject we want to talk about that has to do with customer service, and we just add it on the agenda for external affairs. So I think that might be good and help, free up a little bit of their time instead of coming here and there, same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, could I just add real quick? I mean, because I think it's really reflective of the success of those reports. I think Kelly and Kelly have done a phenomenal job over the last year in particular of, being responsive to requests from the community and from the board as to what we include in those reports. And we often then get requests from other board members or questions about, well, when are you going to report out on something? And say, oh, well, we did that in
Right.
this report. And so I think they're so valuable that we want to, expand that discussion to include the full board. So I think it's partly, I just want to recognize that it's a reflection of how Kelly and Kelly have stepped up and done a great job with those reports.
Yeah, one of the other things I'd like to see in our meetings here, though, whether it's every other meeting or whatever, are the surveys. And, and we're going to talk about that this time. So just like in that instance, we can have it on here and discuss it and see where we're going.
Okay. Kelly G, I want to put you on the spot. Have we made the right decision about giving you some breathing room and making one report instead of two?
Well, like we were saying, I don't think it's so much about the breathing room as the quality of the reports and for the whole board to see. I do think that both Kellys do put quite a bit of information in there, and it's great to have that in this format, but it is really important, I think, for the whole board member, the whole board to see these reports. And I think that's really the main benefit to this decision. So.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
We have a kind of an absence of public here today, but Francisco, did you have any comments on this change of direction?
Yes, I did. I was waiting to see what happened to all of the metrics that got moved into external relations. We had one little workshop meeting and everybody's all, oh, this is great. We're going to do this and not the other. And now it's been another couple of months and I haven't seen one bit of movement on the metrics side. There may be some, beneath the water surface going on with Kelly and Kelly working hard at it, but I haven't seen any evidence of any kind of dashboard or metrics or any discussion along those lines. And now that the frequency of interaction is going to be reduced 50%, I would hope that there is some activity underway that migrates some of this to web-based reporting so that it doesn't require a hand-holding of walking through this thing. It's like they stand on their own, and what should happen is, you have any questions on what we reported on the web? And do we need to do anything different than la 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 la, instead of just a one way, here's what we did and isn't this great?
Yeah, I think some of the stuff we'll be doing in finance committee as well, though, right? If we wanted to do some kind of a metrics, and I know I'm still kind of looking for something, whether it's in the budget, but discussing about comparing, what we budgeted for. I'm looking for like certain items. So if we budgeted to buy X, Y, and Z, did we buy X, Y, and Z, or did we make a change? Those are the kind of things that I'd like to see how they fit, on the website. That probably not so much for the example I just gave, but I think that's one metric that I think that we'd like to see, but I think that would be talked about in the finance meeting.
Yeah, and I think in general, we've incorporated, I mean, I would disagree with the characterization that we haven't responded to a lot of what was discussed previously, because I think we have incorporated a lot of that into Damon's reports and into each of the Kelly's reports. And we'll continue to try to revise that as we move forward and incorporate that data into decision making. I don't think, and I think we've talked about this a few times, I don't see us developing a dashboard that's just on the website all the time with data that's really distilled down and sort of because the risk we run with kind of oversimplifying and displaying that data without context, it requires a lot of work to do that, to maintain that, to update that. And then we would spend, I think, a fair amount of time also responding to questions or criticism that we get because it doesn't tell the whole story and just in one snapshot. So we've taken the course of providing that data during these reports where we also have the narrative and the opportunity to provide context to respond to questions, as they come up, rather than just having it displayed on the website where it might not provide a full picture.
Another thing that we talked about early on in this group, in this committee, was we needed information from surveys. And we're still going to work on those in this group. I mean, that's what I'd like to see. And from those surveys, that might dictate if we want to have some other metric that we're working on, but I think it'll dictate how we want to go with any additional reporting online.
Yeah, I think that we're looking forward to some more data on that front as well.
Yeah, and then see
so
what all the customers are looking for.
It'll continue to evolve. I think, the course we've taken is to report it out during those reports.
But I think we're still, we still need some kind of a, what's the word? Maybe, in the finance committee, when we get the budget to actual, perhaps there needs to be started with a better narrative of how we are in comparison to our CIP planning, the rate study. How are we doing? I think a lot of people are still looking for that information. I would like to see it. And so maybe we start there, look at the budget and, okay, looking at this budget, and like one of them is, what's our debt ratio? The goal is whatever, and here's where we're at. Just a little bit more of that. Maybe it's narrative for a while until we can figure out how we want to go about, or maybe narrative is just where it stays and it's not some spreadsheet or anything like that. But I'll try and work on that a little bit more in the finance committee side and surveys over here to see if there's anything else that customers would like us to address.
Well, one thing that's come up in the next door world of discussions is this issue of revenue loss. And I certainly can understand the reticence of getting tons more questions as a result of publishing something and then having to spend a lot of time providing context, et cetera, et cetera. We're trying to avoid that as well by initially defining things in such a clear-cut manner that there's just that way to interpret something. And one of the things that has received attention is revenue loss. And we've talked about revenue loss. And one of the definitions of revenue loss is the total number of gallons treated and created versus the total number of gallons billed for. And the difference is a loss, and it's a revenue loss. And it's not that hard, and it doesn't require a whole lot of explanation other than why aren't the leaks disappearing, So what we're trying to do is identify things that show that we're trying and achieving a reduced expense load and an improved productivity. So we're doing a lot more with a lot less. And how do we do that with data? That's what we're trying as an advisory group, is to identify those measures that tell the customers, look, every penny that we charge you is being effectively used, and this is how it's improving the services and the quality of products that we provide. And if we can't do that, then we're failing as a board.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're getting off the topic here into specific items. That is going to be a future board agenda item, either next month or September, when we bring back a discussion of our water use conservation efforts and the new regulations that just went into place. So we are we are planning to bring a discussion item back to the full board on that in the next month or two.
Can we have that, just that little item of how, what information do we already have in the reports that are currently generated that we could get this information for the finance committee? Because we do have to report how much water we produced, we got billing that,
I think
what I
that's
mean?
going to be included in the report we're going to bring to the full board on our, where we are with our water use efficiency.
So can you, well, I would like this as an agenda item because I'm going to ask you something like, Damon, do you have reports that tell you how much water we produced for that month? Yes. You know what I'm saying? So I know it's there. So let's just have one little on our finance just to ask those questions, not asking for the answers, but do you have
Well,
the,
that
the
information.
tools to be able to
in
do
the
that?
Ops report, but we can, like I said.
Okay, so
we're
then
gonna
just
bring back a more detailed item.
pull it out and I'll highlight it, but I'd like to see it in the finance committee meeting next month. Just a quick little discussion. You don't have to give me any reports or nothing like that. Let's just have a conversation. Is that okay?
The reports that we have to provide for the state, they've been an ongoing thing, a fact of life for
Yeah.
decades, haven't they? I mean, so, and if we were doing an absolutely terrible job, we'd have people knocking on our door saying, "Wait a minute, you got to do something about this." I'm assuming that's kind of down on the granular level that the board doesn't usually look at. But I think that looking at the finite ability to report out that we can account for every gallon that we produce, we can account for every gallon that we bill for. There is no way in hell that we were going to be able to identify the losses that occur beyond the meter. And they're substantial. I mean, we see them from time to time, thousands and thousands of gallons, and people don't know about them for months. So how do you quantify that?
But what if we started with, we produced this much and we sold this much? Just those
I
two numbers,
know.
we have them.
I-
So
I-
just to open our eyes and go, oh, and then what is the acceptable amount of loss?
Yeah,
And if
so-
we're in that percentage, so be it. And I know you guys have that stuff.
Well, it's
But
not
it's
as
not-
easy as you might think, and the data is still improving and evolving, and we're still, working with the new tools that we have to come up with more precise answers on that.
Mhm.
But it's never as simple as we would like it to be. But again, we're getting really into the weeds of one particular item here that we're gonna bring back.
That's why I'd like to bring it back to finance, just for a conversation. I don't expect to see the numbers, just a nice conversation like we're having now, a little bit more
Okay.
detail.
Well, I
We're gonna be
want to
bringing it to the whole board.
clarify that I wasn't suggesting that we don't need more improvement there and more detailed information. I just, if we ever expect that we're going to be able to pinpoint the exact number of gallons and where they all went, it's kind of a difficult task, I would think. All right. Do you have any other comments about that? Michael Rogers. Hello, Michael.
Yeah, I just want to add to the discussion that Francisco posed, and to your point, Director Thomas, it's not just the data at a snapshot in time that I understand accounting for thousands of gallons. I don't think we're asking for that. I think what's important is the trend, looking at it month over month, year over year, that's where you can determine whether there's some other extraordinary event or something, and then you do your root cause analysis and take corrective action. The importance of metrics and again, just having a snapshot in time. And I think Damon has made a lot of progress in that regard and sharing, how we're performing month over month, year over year. So, yield, any production operation, it's a fundamental piece. And you know, it's data that you already have. And again, I agree with you. You know, we're going to go out and look, you know, to account for thousands of gallons that may be lost in a single month. But I think when you compare year over year and you say, hey, in August of or July of 2023, we did this, and July of 2024, we did that. You know, is it trending the right direction? That's really what we want to see. I mean, we don't need to get into the weeds on, you know, how to account for thousands of gallons, but if you see a spike on a year over year data, then, you know, that's an indication of some sort of underlying problem. So we would expect that as the CIP mission continues and we complete A to B project and so on, we would hope and expect that that trend be in the right direction, that those losses would begin to be reduced. And that's why it's important to us, because it's to Francisco's point, it's real money. And so I think we're making progress. I agree with Mike. Hey, we don't need to put all this on the website. You guys report out on it on a periodic basis. But that year over year trend is really something we've been asking for, and we think it deserves a very high priority. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for those comments, Mike. Anyone else? Okay, item 4B, we have an update and discussion on the new CCWD website and survey options. Kelly?
Well, hello.
Hello.
Hello again.
I have to say it's an honor to be presenting from right here, you know, like behind the scenes at Mega Desk here with Rebecca.
Mega Desk, that's nice.
I'm really, really excited about it. This is different and fun. So
Thank you for sharing,
That's,
Rebecca.
that's like mission control.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is where the
Yeah,
magic
There's
happens.
a lot of that going on over there.
Yeah.
Houston, we have a problem. So.
Yeah, we've had a few of those, huh? Thank goodness for Rebecca and IT occasionally.
Yeah, so when we initially launched the website, I did present to the full board, but I think today I just want to kind of go through it a little bit more in depth. I'll go through some of the top features and just dive through it, maybe show you guys some things that you haven't seen yet. And then I just want to open up for questions. And that way, while I'm driving, if you have a question, maybe I can, you know, answer it right away or show you in real time. So
Okay, just want to ask a question. Will Francisco and Mike Rogers be able to see on their screens the same thing we're seeing? Okay, great.
yeah, there might be just some slight lag with sharing, but yeah, what's on screen is being viewed by them as well. So I'll start here at the top, at the very top here where it says check out our new rate calculator. That's a bar that I can customize on the fly. I've used it for several different things. You know, for right now, I put the rate calculator up there. And we went through our second round of the rate increase starting on July 16th. So I thought it might be useful to lead folks to that calculator. And I've made a bunch of changes to that calculator, and I'll take you through that here in a second. But I can also put construction updates. Let's say A to B, there's something significant going on. I can change that color to where it's red. If folks don't want to see it up there in their browser, they can hit this dismiss button over to the right. It looks really nice on mobile. It comes up front and center. So if there happens to be a leak, you know, I've used it for that as well. If there's something that I need to really communicate front and center. You'll also see on the top here is our communication survey, contact us. All these little bubbles here are where folks can take direct links to any of our social media feeds, YouTube, Facebook, Nextdoor, all those. But again, the survey is right here on the top. And I also have the survey on the very, very bottom as well, communication survey. So I just try to make, no matter where you are on the page, hopefully they can see it.
Can I ask questions when you're driving? You want us to wait till we're done?
We can do it however you'd like.
How many people responded to that communication survey?
Since it's been on the website, since the 17th, 8 people.
8?
Mhm.
And it's
this
been
is
on there since July 17th?
June 17th.
June 17th.
When we launched. And this is the same communication survey that has still all the existing responses. So I still have those responses too. I forget that exact number. It was in the mid 150 or so, more than 100, less than 200 for the original. And again, this is just the communication survey.
How you want us to communicate?
Yeah, here,
with
we can
them.
just, we'll take a
Well,
little.
I remember it.
We can take a stroll through there. So, the first one is how would you rate our website? And out of those 8, it's all over the board, but mostly 5s and 4s. To be honest, there was a 2, there was no 1s. But I know for a fact there was 2 5s, a couple of 4s and some 3s, but which I think that's good. I don't think this is a poor website. So I think if someone hit that, they were just maybe mad about something else.
Are you
Taking it out of my website?
Yeah. Are you tracking this? So a year from now, you can say, you know what, our average was a 3 and now we're averaging 5 since last
Yeah.
year. I mean, I don't know if you're doing that, but
Yeah, I have the
Yeah.
ability to pretty much just upload this into a Excel spreadsheet, and I can use all the Excel features to track
I
anything.
mean, if it's helpful to you, but I might be one of those people that will ask you that question.
Yeah,
you
and so
know.
I've on the back end, I've played around with different questions we can ask, but I know it was very important to you to talk about that in a committee setting. So I'm open to that. Maybe after we go through the website, we can talk
About
some
another
specific
survey.
questions you
Okay.
might like. But again, this is just basically, again, the website. What format do you prefer for receiving information? Do you follow us on social media? This was meant to be for me to get an idea of the best way to communicate with folks or their preferred, and then we can go from there.
Kelly, let me ask a question that, whenever I go to different websites, other than CCWD website, there's always a comment, people can put their comments on it, and sometimes it's helpful to click on those comments to kind of, trigger my response or how I want to respond or see if it's been covered. Do you ever think about the possibility of having a comment section too?
I haven't thought of that. I mean, are you thinking where folks can see maybe the responses on the survey, or just more of like a
No, just
comment
if you're asking a specific question about, what do you think of this website, and somebody gives it a 5, and they have an ability to say, this is, why do you think it's a 5? This is a hidden, it's 100% better than it used to be. And if somebody has a 1, why do they feel that way?
To add on to that, like I'll be on a website and all of a sudden a pop-up will come and, say, how do you like our website? Or how do you like this particular service? And just the stars, you click it and you can leave a comment. It just kind of pops up. Do we have that possibility? And would that be helpful?
I can definitely look into that. I'm not sure if it has the ability to have like a section like social media where people can comment and thumbs up. I'll have to look at that. I haven't seen that with Streamline Services, but they've been great to work with customizing things. So, and they're open to new suggestions. They're constantly evolving. They are working on a new design suite that they're not, it's still in beta. So they're not really sure when that'll be available, but we could see some updates. One update that they said they're really working on hard is the calendar. So of course I haven't seen those yet, what they're working on, but they're really proud of, the calendar. So I'm looking forward to that. So there could be new features like that coming in this second round.
Okay, well, it wouldn't have to be with each and every question, but if before somebody leaves that area, you just say, would you like to leave a comment about?
Okay.
Well, that's where I think that pop-up would come up, just it comes out of nowhere and you're like, what? And
Pop-ups are irritating.
Yeah, but it's just, how do you rate our website? Stars, and then optional to leave a comment, and it goes just to you.
Right. Oh, no, I have that written down here. It's a
Yeah.
great idea. I love the idea, and I'll look into that certainly.
Okay, good. Keep driving.
So another thing on the bottom, you'll see as you scroll that the join our mailing list on the bottom is always going to be there. And so that'll always be able to see there. And when you click on that, right now we have it to where you can sign up for agendas, the newsletter. I don't have the newsletter yet, but I know if I put it on here, it's going to push me to get that done sooner than later. So it is something that it's in my mind. And so another thing we added recently was the job opportunities. So as we're flying jobs, we can hit that mailing list, and that one, we have 20 people signed up for it so far, but it's people are signing up for it rapidly. I think it's interesting. And just to note that the job opportunities portion of our website is the most viewed. In the top 5 is job opportunities, then the customer portal, then board meetings, then bill payments, and then the rate calculator. Those are the top 5 viewed items so far since the
That's
17th.
good information right there.
Yeah, and with that, I can see some whole lot of information on the back end as far as, if they're on a mobile device, if they're on a tablet, so I can really start seeing, but that is just overall out of all traffic, that's the top 5.
Kelly, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Kelly, would it be possible to add a floating chat box and link that into the customer service? The way some websites, they have a little chat balloon on the side, similar to your join our mailing list.
Oh.
It always gives you the opportunity to chat, and it would directly link you to, say, somebody assigned chat duties in the customer service team.
I can look into that.
Well, that one I don't like. I've been looking for cars and it's like this little dang chat thing comes in. I have to respond to it to move on. So those are irritating
Yeah.
and they take up your whole space. So,
Well, no, I
but
would design
something
it.
like that in the corner that you click on, but not something that comes, in my opinion, that's just my.
So moving on over here under about, you can go, one thing I want to show you is our transparency section. And this is, this is specific to Streamline services. So you can go in here and all the background information you like. I've also added our water quality reports, our most recent rate study. Again, you can grab that rate calculator there and catalog of enterprise systems, all things that are required. So it's all in one nice, easy spot. To go back at any time, you can hit the home button, or if you want, you can just hit the logo. Logo takes you right back home.
But you scrolled past something that said fair political practices. Did I read that right?
Yeah, some of these items are just required for us to have on there. So
Okay.
when you get
And that's under about, oh, I see.
yeah, that's under about. Same thing with about, there's gonna be about CCWD. You have a little bit about when we were started. A picture that I love of Old Spicer there, all looking vintage. I think that's one of my favorite pictures at the moment. So this is, similar to on the other website. I did update some of our maps. Same thing with the divisions.
Could you do some Photoshop work on that founding document and put Jeff Davidson's name signing it? So
That we'll talk about that on the side.
Okay.
I don't want to commit to anything like that in here. So while we're here, let's just jump in really quick on this rate calculator, since it's right there, easy to get to. So I've added some new conversions on here. So starting off with just kind of a perspective of what maybe a gallon of water might be worth, maybe worth to you, or just what you think a gallon of water might cost. So we'll start with you, Cindy. What do you think? What do you think a gallon of water should cost?
What it should cost or what does Doug cost?
What do you think it should cost? What are you willing to
pay?
Fair?
Well, I pay 98 cents a gallon at Walmart when I'm traveling, sometimes $1.25. I'm gonna go with 98 cents.
98 cents. Well, we'll go with $1. So here we go. That's $1 a gallon. That would be $5,670 a month at using, basically the 189 gallons a day. So
Good thing I only buy like 10 at a time when I travel.
yeah. And so you can mess with these numbers here. You can put 50 gallons a day again with our, our average winter use, about 150 gallons per day, average summer use. I mean, those are arbitrary. Those I'm not sure everyone's use. That's all over the place, but this is more just kind of the see and get your mind thinking. But $1 a gallon would be pretty darn expensive. So let's go with 3 cents a gallon. And let's
Do you
say
know what we charge per gallon? What is it?
Average,
well, it depends. I mean, again, there's yeah.
What tier?
What's your average?
That's what he's got.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll lead you to the actual calculator that gets more specific to the rates. But at 3 cents a gallon, if you're using that 189 gallons per day, your monthly cost would be about $170 per month. So, and then again, I also have usage here. So that would give you, your daily usage, monthly usage, bi-monthly, all that, just to kind of give you a perspective of how many gallons you may or may not be using. It's really profound when you start playing with these numbers and seeing your own impact. So I try to make this calculator where folks can kind of just see. And then it goes on further with some gallons to cubic feet and cubic feet to gallons. That's always a question. There's a quote here. It says how many gallons are in a cubic foot of water, and I don't say that quote, just one particular person says it. I think says just about everyone. So, because I've been in, feels like dozens of these meetings where this question has come up. So I try to do these two converters here, so you can enter in gallons. Let's say you use 1,000 gallons. That's 133 cubic feet. Or again, since your meters read in cubic feet, you want to know how many gallons it is. Let's say 1,500 cubic feet. That's 11,221 gallons. So you can use this converter just to play around with it and see. As you scroll down, now here's our rate calculator. I really tried to make it obvious that, it's in cubic feet and it is a bi-monthly, period. So I put here, 60-day period, or when you enter your consumption, enter it in cubic feet for 2 months. So let's go with just tier one. Let's go with, we'll keep it at, let's go 1,200 cubic feet for the month. For the selecting of the year, right now we're in this new rates cycle for July 16th, 2024. As you scroll down, it gives you your bi-monthly base rate, which is $152, and then your base rate plus consumption, which would bring it to $177.20. In that green colored box, it shows you, how much it is per 100 cubic feet, shows your consumption and what you'd be paying in that tiered price. So let's say you go into tier two. So let's say 1,600 cubic feet. All of a sudden that yellow box appears and it shows you how much is in tier one and it shows you how much is in tier two. So let's say you're a high user over the 3,000. So let's go with 3,500 cubic feet again for 2 months. It'll break it down to each tier, showing you that you actually, your cost in tier three would be $12.45.
Do you have an average, just water use? What is the average per area or district, let's say? What's the average bi-monthly water use for West Point or Copper or anything like that? Do we know any of that information?
I don't have that, but
We don't break it out by service area. We just average all customers.
What is that average? Anybody know?
Average winter time, usually just saw it in there. Well, that is the tier. So 1,500, 1,500 cubic feet.
So I guess what I should be asking is what is, more like the average use that we're billing for? That's the same question I'm trying to say. Because all these are good, the low end user, the high user. I don't know, what's that midline that's normal? Is there a normal? I don't know. I'm on a well, so
yeah.
I have no idea.
Well, we can certainly
Yeah,
look into that.
We did a lot of that breakdown when we were presenting on the rate study, because we showed, what this is gonna have to cost for an average single family,
And so with that average single family, what was that amount used?
Well, that's why we use that's why we use the 189 gallons a day. That's why I put it in there. But it's I wouldn't say that's the average. It's so different. I mean, does a household have 2 people in it, 3 people, 4 people? I mean, it gets.
Is it a rancho facility with 5 acres of landscaping? So
Yeah. But it would be interesting information. Absolutely. And so when you're in this rate calculator, also to the right, I've got these other little teasers they're called, and it just leads you to more information. So you can jump right into the customer portal. So let's say you see all this information. Now you want to pay your bill. This will take you right to our customer portal where you have the account. I have put the customer portal and several of these features throughout the website to where you don't have to go all the way back.
Right.
So it's the same link, and I'm just trying to make it really simple, because this might lead you into your portal, because now I just hopefully equipped you with a lot of information on how to find all this information. Now you want to go see what your usage really is.
Right.
And I encourage folks to do that. I have mine set up. I'm a ratepayer as well. And I've been messing with those notifications, and it'll text me when I use too much, or it's a really great feature. I think it's very, very useful. Folks can set up different alerts if you're going on vacation. And so we've really equipped, I think, the public with some of these tools to really know their own usage and kind of identify some of those maybe unforeseen leaks. In here as well, I've got tutorials.
Hang on before you go, you didn't answer the question about what the average cost per gallon is. Isn't it 0.02 cents per gallon?
Yes, if you really include, see, what's interesting about that calculator is that's not including base rate and all that stuff, but look at if we did, if you put 2 cents a gallon and you use that average, your bi-monthly bill is $227. I can tell you I use about that much water and my bi-monthly bill is not $227, and that includes the base rate. So as you can see down here, if you want to use, so that would be, I think,
Yeah, I want to say it was.
again, it depends wildly with how much water you use, and I don't want to speculate for how much someone might use, but roughly 2 cents a gallon,
But that's 189 for 2 months.
2
It's
months.
gonna fluctuate depending on how much you use.
But let's drill down here a little bit. I would say that with our new rate that we just implemented, the bi-monthly average would be about 152. Is that correct?
Yeah, so with, right now with this current rate structure with 1,500 cubic feet for 2 months, your bi-monthly bill would be $183.
Okay.
Whereas at 2 cents a gallon, using roughly that much,
And that's total everything, your tier and whatever. That's the total they could expect to get.
And your
Bill.
facilities payment or your.
Yeah,
payment for the-
everything.
Okay, so we can go with that.
So it's less than 2 cents.
Yeah,
At
point,
that.
0.018 cents per gallon.
yes.
Can't beat that with a stick.
But like I think I
It's a
heard Danny
dollar
say that,
from-
now that's decimal dust, which I always like, decimal dust, right? So in the rate calculator, again, there, it'll lead you to the portal, or you can take a look at our meter tutorials. I think this is useful. We have 3 different styles of meters out there, so we've got information on each one of those meters, spec sheets, all the information you'd like, plus these nice little videos. I don't know how loud this is going to get, so if this gets really loud quickly, I apologize. But just quick videos showing like where your meter might be, which style you might have. And then it shows you, it'll go through a series of, how to read it. And again, that's for each meter. I won't go through the whole thing. So yes, we have, again, 3 different meters. So this, once you open that box up and see what kind of meter you can do some tutorials here and find out how to read it, as well as a classic 5-gallon bucket test at the bottom if you are so inclined to check your highly sophisticated meter with a 5-gallon bucket.
I want to go back to the cost. Sorry. So that 0.018, you said, per gallon, that includes all fees. You have your consumption plus the other fees in there. That's what it comes out to. What was the cost prior to the rate increase? Half that?
No.
It's pretty low.
I don't have that in here. This is all just the most current. This calculator is just set up for the current rates.
The rate went up 18 or 19%.
It's not gonna translate directly
No.
that way.
It'll be a lot of zeros after the point or whatever. I just want to make sure that if that includes all the fees, because you have your consumption,
It does.
your whatever.
It's the base rate and the consumption.
And that's what they just get billed for, those 2 things. And then whatever sewer is.
Kelly, I don't want to be too much of a distraction here, but it just popped into my mind about, I would suspect that there, out of the 13,000 water customers that we have, there's probably a pretty high percentage of people that don't realize that it's not permitted for them to hook onto their water system and supply water to their neighbor. Should we put something like that on the website in a kind of a not hammered type of a statement? But
We haven't seen a lot, we've seen that from time to time, but we haven't seen a lot of that. I don't know if that's,
What if it's in an emergency situation? Why not? I mean, what if they have
well, yeah,
somebody's paying for it. It's not like nobody's paying for it. He's got to work it out with their neighbor. If there's an emergency. Now, I mean, there should be a certain time frame. I don't know what the policy is, but saying you can't
I
do it
don't
at
think
all.
that would be the solution in an emergency even. We just, I think what Director Thomas is referring to is if somebody's not
Doing it
paying
on a
the
regular
water bills, they're
basis.
just getting a connection through their neighbor's
Gotcha.
lawn.
Okay.
And we've had a few of those, but it's been a while. I don't know that
Well,
it's a
if,
widespread issue.
if there's a state law about that, it's probably, bury it down at the bottom of a page someplace, but, just if somebody calls up and asks about it, you can just refer them to the webpage.
There's certainly a CCWD ordinance about that.
I'll look into that. Let's jump into active projects. So let's go to A to
Oh,
B.
Kelly,
Go ahead.
the consumption information is very useful, and I appreciate you taking the time to do that. I'm looking forward to what you're going to do with the conservation effort, because in my particular situation, 3/4 of my usage is grass or landscaping. And so when I change sprinkler heads, they have different gallons per minute impacts. And I don't know that people are really noticing their usage as it breaks down between what they need to be human beings and use water versus what they need to have their house look nice. And I don't know if it's appropriate for you or some other tool to use or to refer to that helps people calculate what their non-human water use might be and how that's going to impact their bill, as well as their conservation efforts that are forthcoming.
Yeah. We'll certainly report, again, what Michael was alluding to earlier. We will be reporting out on the water use efficiency that was just passed. And again, I think the point in the top part of that calculator is for folks to really start giving it a number. It's really profound how much water. That's why I put it in a year. When you're using hundreds of thousands of gallons of water per year, and maybe you can reflect on that and take some of the ownership of how you want to landscape or whatever and choose. It's really the power. It's their choice if they want to have a full on, yard and all that stuff. But I want to jump into.
The other part I missed that I'm surprised that I didn't hear is that you have numerical data for every one of the customers you build on a build basis, and now with the customer portal on the consumption side of the house that you're still working out the tweaks on. But it seems to me that a simple statistical analysis would give you the mean, the standard deviation and all that, and you can at least have that as some sort of backup as to your calculations, because that's part of the heavy duty cost of service stuff, isn't it? That the commission found to be a little concerning that the residential customer was subsidizing the commercial customer.
I think the jury is still out on that, but
Yes, but what I didn't hear is anything that led me to believe that you have the statistical analysis in your hip pocket somewhere and you just haven't shared it with anybody, but it's there, and that's concerning, is my point. That was it.
Well, again, that calculator is simply for our customers to really just identify usage and see what their bills might be and see how much, how many gallons are in a cubic foot.
Yeah,
So
I understand that.
A to B. So let's get into A to B. So this is great. I think, again, this is going to be on the top here to where as this project really starts going and really gaining steam, we'll have construction updates, the construction schedule. One thing I have on the bottom here is an embedded map. And so you can click on it and go larger. It'll take you to another window, but I'm just going to zoom in. One thing I like about this is as we start getting into the project, I can show a little bit more of, impacts to neighborhoods. If you zoom in even closer, it starts giving you the addresses. So you'll be able to see the alignment of it and understand it a little more as we start talking about maybe the intersection of Silver Rapids and, Hart-Fixon is going to be affected next week. So this is going to be on there, and we will be keeping this up to date once this project really gets going. And I think that'll be useful as well. We'll go back to the home page. I put on here, so stay connected. This is a little bit more towards our social media side of things. It's got quick links, and I've embedded our Facebook feed right there. So even for folks that don't have Facebook, you can go and kind of see what we are posting. And so this is just a live feed. Every time I post something, you can kind of scroll through our feed. If you want to click on it and engage with it, then you'll have to log into your own Facebook account, but you can kind of see some of the stuff that's been posted, and it's in real time. So that's what the most recent post.
Nice.
And we were just talking about water use efficiency, and I think that's a very important topic. So I have a whole tab just for that. I've got all sorts of information about, do you have a leak, some inspirational videos. I've got different ways of saving water, talking about dishwashers and mulch around your yard. So I'm trying to really have all that information readily available too, to promote that water conservation, which is crucial. Water conservation during PSPS events. That had a huge uptick several years ago. It doesn't seem like that's at that same magnitude, but they did reference one not too long ago. It wasn't for our area, but it can certainly happen at any time.
Are the PSPS events still happening?
We've had,
Are they?
There've been a few of them this year. We just haven't had any here.
well, and there's been two in the last 2 or 3 weeks that have affected Copperopolis and Angels Camp.
Not PSPS events.
Knock on
Other
wood. I haven't even lost any power,
Well,
which is
well,
for nothing.
I don't know what qualifies as technically a PSPS, but they came out with an explanation that they have automatic measuring devices on the circuitry that if they detect a problem, it'll shut down.
Right.
And they're calling it a PSPS.
The public safety power shutoffs are an advanced shutdown before there's a problem, just based on meteorological conditions and fire risk. So they're not doing it because there's an equipment failure. They're not doing it for any immediate, response. It's, they project these things. Typically, we'll start getting emails 3, maybe even 5 days in advance, probably more like 3 days in advance. They'll send us a list of which counties are on the watch list, and it usually gets whittled down a little bit as it gets closer. They can do it at any time. They don't have to give us those notices. If they detect, severe fire hazard, some sort of thunderstorm or something that creates severe fire hazard, they can shut the grid down anytime for safety reasons. But if it's in response to an equipment failure or anything like that, it's just considered an outage, not a PSPS event.
Yeah. I've become keenly aware of an advantage to being a CCWD customer for water. And that, what I'm talking about is when I have a shutdown of the power, I don't have any water. But you guys keep the generators on, you keep the lines pressurized, and that's, I had to go out and buy a $700 generator so that I can still produce water when I have no power. So put that on your website.
Absolutely. No, I mean, that's a whole nother topic. I can talk about that all day. That's amazing, and what these guys do and the infrastructure that keeps on going during those kinds of events is remarkable.
Yeah.
Every day, it's remarkable.
I have another comment about your conservation topics and saving water. I haven't looked at that. I apologize for not taking the time to look at it yet, but I can remember a startling figure like a 24-hour dripping faucet that'll cost you 500 gallons a day or something. And you must have in the industry, you've got dripping faucet equals so many gallons a day. A running valve in a toilet is 1,000 gallons a day. Don't you have that breakdown?
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, so used to be actually on my business card some years ago on the back. It would be 1 gallon. 1 gallon per minute is 1,440 gallons a day. So, I mean, and then you can just extrapolate from there. Yeah. So definitely water loss is a huge impact too.
Well, I think that would be valuable and eye-opening information that people would be surprised to see. Brushing your teeth and leaving the water running while you're brushing your teeth versus cutting it off. I mean, you're supposed to brush your teeth for 2 minutes or so. You let the water run at 30 gallons a minute, out of a typical faucet for 2 minutes. That's adding way high to your 189 gallons.
I have that right here. Is turn off your water when brushing your teeth
Oh.
and shaving. 8 gallons per person each time you brush your teeth. So I try to load this thing up with fun facts like that, or, right here it says fix leaks, which, a leak can be all different sizes, but they're saying generally 27 to 90 gallons per day just in, So there's all sorts of fun facts on here. Down below, I've even got some different water efficient landscapes. So some ideas and tips for that too. I really encourage you to take a look at it. I've got a link to other, Save Our Water is a really great resource that has a lot of this, these good tools.
So I just typed in, how many drips or whatever. And seeing at a rate of 120 drips per minute, you can waste 11 gallons per day or 330 gallons per month. And then there's a link here that says, does a drippy faucet really increase my utility bill? Maybe we need to have that website,
It adds up.
Yeah.
So again, we just have our normal announcements and news items, and this is on the homepage too, where you click on it if we happen to have a leak going on or certain things. So this is just another tool. Again, our most recent water quality report. One thing I really like about this website is it's nice integration with Facebook for us to link it, so it's the same information. I don't have to recreate things, and it keeps that continuity. And then one last thing before you guys can ask any of the questions, and I can dive in if you'd like, is again, it's just one click to online bill pay. And this is in several different spots. This takes you off of our website into the portal. And here's where you'd sign up for your own account. But super simple, just one click and you're now in that portal. And I do highly recommend that all of our customers do sign up for that. It really helps empower you and sees your usage. I've been, playing with mine quite a bit just to see. I've set my notifications kind of lower just so I get the text. You get a text, you get an email, whatever you prefer. And it's very, very useful. It tells you how much you used, and it's very, very useful. And again, I've been setting mine low just to have it trigger that alarm. So folks, really, we've empowered them to know if they have a leak just like that. So I think that's pretty great. So I think I kind of went over most of the topics and some of the little hidden features. There's a lot more on here, but we can do that all day. And I don't think we have the time for that. But do you guys have any specific questions or anything you'd like me to show you, or you're curious that may or may not be on here? Of course, there's the board of directors page as well that has your guys' information. Cindy, I do still
I
a
know,
bio for
somebody
you.
make me, help me write it. Actually, I'm gonna give you my candidate thing and then you
Okay.
can update it or something.
Yeah, I can do that.
That'd be okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
And again, Rebecca, I think, just does a great job. This is her little wheelhouse there, and she does a fantastic job of keeping that up to date. I really like how the videos show here as well. Once she has stuff posted, it's really nice.
oh yeah, that looks good.
So
I use that frequently.
That's
That
what it
area.
was.
So,
We have to get updated pictures. So.
I've heard about the updated pictures. Yes, yes.
yeah. Oh,
So yeah, you guys have any other questions?
well, I want to just quickly talk about some surveys and we can move it to the next meeting since we will be meeting fairly soon. But maybe some ideas, talk to us about your ideas of the next survey. It sounds like, are you at a point now where the website's going nice and so you're ready to try to do some others?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe the
Absolutely.
next meeting you can bring back some ideas of what your next surveys will be and we can critique it or add to it or whatever.
Yeah, we've been talking about that internally. We've got some ideas on some in-house surveys and then some customer experience surveys as well. There, we want to make sure we craft them properly to get good data out of them. And so, yeah, we'll be bringing that back.
Would you, bring it back to the next meeting here and before you dial it in case there's, well, you can dial it in all you want. And if you want to add to it, we could.
Yeah, and,
So-
and I know you've mentioned, customer satisfaction more focused, but the last two questions are open-ended, and it has been a vehicle for people to express their satisfaction in all different responses. So even with the current survey, folks can express some of these items.
Well, maybe the next meeting we talk just about that and I'd just like to see where you guys are at and we could have some input.
Sure.
If there's.
And just while I'm on it, since it's there, this is one of the features too, is the YouTube video of the board meeting stays with our website, whereas before it would link and it would take you off of our site into the YouTube realm of things. So now you can stay on our website and watch these videos and watch what's going on and watch what's being presented.
So we have to be careful.
Yes.
From Francisco, Mike, do you have any other questions about Kelly's
Yeah, just
report?
a couple of, first of all, great work, Kelly. I would give you a high five if I could, and you can have as many of the 4s and 5s if you want, but an excellent improvement over what we started with a year and a half ago. So kudos to you and thank you. The other question is, these images, are they restricted in any way for fair use that are on the website? For example, the seal and some of the great pictures you've taken?
No, I mean, some are mine and then some are royalty-free stock photos that I've, no, they're all able to be used.
Okay, and of the customer portal, any idea of penetration in terms of the 13,000 and change accounts? How many are there, whether they're, 2 or 3 per account or whatever? Do we have any sense for penetration yet?
I do believe Kelly was reporting out on that in her
Mhm.
reports. We can check,
It's
but
been a little bit
she's been
since we've-
reporting on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
But we-
didn't know if it was something that you all were, trying to actively achieve 80% maybe.
Maybe at the next meeting, we could just have or at the open meeting.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of talk about in the grand jury report about the implementation of the 2 various systems. And one of the systems is designed to enable us to do all kinds of things that would be nice to know that it's being used, because you guys work so hard to get it up there and get it to be functional. It'd be a shame if we only got a 10% use.
I think it's pretty good, actually. It's a pretty high number from what I remember last time, but it would be nice to know, where we're at today.
Thanks.
Okay. Michael, do you have anything more?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good
Okay.
presentation. I kind of follow Francisco's appraisal of this. It's nice work. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
All right. That concludes item 4B. Let's go to 4C, the discussion regarding clean fleets implementation and CPPA's role. Michael.
Yes. So we wanted to kind of shift focus a little bit towards work that CCWD does.
Feet, dudes,
It's gonna be a good one. So work that we do with other agencies and I think it's probably safe to say that not a day goes by where we're not collaborating with other agencies in some way. This morning is a good example of that. We had a call with the GMs at CPUD and Amador Water Agency, and we're putting together a joint comment letter. So we're always working with partner agencies. CPPA is one way that we do that. It's a joint powers authority. CCWD is one of the 5 permanent members of the CPPA board, not the UN Security Council, but the CPPA board. There's 5 permanent members and 2 rotating members among all the other special districts in the county. And one of the discussions we had there, unless you want me to go into a little bit more just overview of CPPA. But one of the discussions we had at the last board meeting was whether or not CPPA can play a role in clean fleet compliance. And because CCWD budgeted for this fiscal year to do a study to look at our demand for where our vehicles are, how many charging stations we're going to need, and whether the infrastructure on the grid is adequate to meet that demand, and what we're going to have to do in order to comply with the Clean Fleets rule. That's just we budgeted $30,000 for that study. That just buys you a study. It doesn't buy you a charging station. And so we went to CPPA, and because all the other public agencies in the county are going to have to do that similar work effort. And the discussion was whether or not CPPA, since all of the public agencies with any significant electrical load in the county are members of CPPA, whether or not that would be the right place to to actually do a comprehensive county-wide effort to identify the infrastructure needs for the various fleets, and then what the charging station needs are going to be. We can then use that information and go to PG&E and find out what the grid upgrades that will be required are going to be, and hopefully eventually get a cost for all of that, and maybe also identify opportunities where we can have shared infrastructure. I think there's going to be some logistical challenges to that. We're going to have to be able to charge our vehicles, and we're going to have to know that we have charging stations available, but where we can coordinate and share with other agencies, hopefully identify those opportunities as well. So there was, good discussion at CPPA about that. And the recommendation was for us to work with Dennis Dickman, the executive director, to bring it back to the next CPPA board meeting, provide some more information there. It's really CCWD, the county has an even larger fleet than we do, and the school districts, I think, are going to be the ones most affected by this rule, electrifying all the school buses. To a lesser degree, the emergency response agencies, because they have some exemptions that will buy them some time, but fire districts are a part of CPPA as well. So I think taking a comprehensive look and finding cost savings where we can in conjunction with those other agencies makes sense. And then hopefully also decreasing the cost of the initial study that we have to do if we're pooling that work effort. So I think, hopefully we do get a comprehensive plan that comes out of that. And it won't only help inform the work that we need to do to reach compliance, it will also really help with the advocacy piece, I think, because having data, Damon's been doing a phenomenal job presenting, to all of the CARB board members and wherever he can get people to listen to how difficult this is going to be for us to comply with. But also, so being able to add data on exactly, what our load is, how many charging stations we're going to need, where they're going to have to be, and also looking at, how frequent those outages are in those areas where we need those charging stations, which means the charging station won't be available. And so we've been providing that narrative, but being able to back it up with this, more granular data, I think will really help the advocacy effort that Damon's been leading. So that's the discussion that has been happening at CPPA. Good favorable response from Dennis Dickman on that. And so we're going to move that forward. The next CPPA board meets quarterly, so we'll bring that back to the CPPA board again in October.
Well, that's nice that there's a, working together to figure this out. And all the other districts have to do the same thing. So if you're all working together there, that could not only save money, but maybe do a larger review, of what's going on. More funds are attached to it by others.
Well, part of what you said there was to try to figure out in advance what all this is going to cost. And I frankly hadn't really thought about, what is the charging station going to do in the event of a power shutdown. But we should figure that each charging station would have to have a 200 kilowatt generator, diesel powered generator, just as a standby.
I just shake my head thinking, how can they do this? I could see somewhat in the cities because it's more, compressed with a bunch of people, but in these rural areas, it doesn't make sense. Start it there, let us watch, and we'll be 10 years or 15 years behind you.
Well, they have started there already. So the urban counties were required to comply as of January 1st this year. So that is already rolling out, and those counties are, but it's not 10 years. Our compliance date is January 1st, 2027. So we do have a couple years to see how urban counties are able to do this. But that's not a lot of time when you're talking about upgrading the electrical grid, which, as we know, even just getting an upgraded service draw for a construction project, it could take us a year.
We're still working on being a first responder, which makes total sense.
And the availability, the long lead time for electrical components is a huge holdup on all of our construction projects. The getting to a point where we actually even could comply, and that's only if the vehicles become available.
Right.
But even getting to a point where we could comply
But-
is gonna take
But
time.
look how much money that we're gonna be forced to
Yeah.
spend. So still, you don't even know if you're gonna have a product
Right,
to
and
use
that's
it with.
really one of the other big benefits I should have mentioned of this work effort will be then we can collectively go and find grant money, find other sources of funds to help build this infrastructure. And try to support all of the public agencies in Calaveras County. Cause it's gonna be very expensive.
Well, but it ultimately has to be explained to the average taxpayer that every time we get a grant or, somebody gets a $10 million grant to do something, the money's got to come from somewhere. And that's typically from
Taxpayers are
the
paying it.
taxpayer.
That's who's
Yeah, it's
supporting it.
ultimately still public money.
Right.
It's not, hopefully we're able to get it
But-
grant funded, so it's not water rate money.
Right, well, it's not just
but-
coming out of 13,000 people's pockets,
Right,
it'll be
yeah.
millions, and it's
Right,
not
because
such
we
a
did
hard
not,
hit.
as you know, this is not in the CIP. We did not budget for clean fleet compliance.
Right.
The objective here is to get the data we need so that we can go out and find money to implement this.
Damon, you've been involved in this discussion and making presentations and stuff for a number of years now. But we talk about the fact that some of these first responders are going to be exempt, but it just occurred to me that they may not be exempt forever. And have you talked to, or anybody mentioned that 20 years from now they're going to be expected to be all electrified too?
That conversation hasn't come up at all in any of the conversations I've had with all the folks I've talked to, because I think the focus right now is just how do we get out of the starting gate without falling on our face? And they're like 100 yards down the track. They're already at the other end going, well, I'm not even worrying about that right now.
But you're absolutely right. That is going to happen. And there's talk even of California not allowing the sale of gas powered vehicles by 2035. So it will affect emergency fleets eventually as well.
Well, you can see the like the canary in the coal mine. I had to buy a string trimmer recently,
Yeah.
and I went over to the local market over there, and the one I wanted to buy they didn't have, and they were telling me that they had bought like 300 string trimmers, and they're the only people in the whole region that had any, and above or I guess below a certain size, they're no longer available in a gas powered version. So all
Right.
electric.
And eventually the direction things are going right now, they will do that to vehicles as well.
Are they doing that nationwide, or is it just California starting it and then everybody's gonna follow suit?
Clean Fleets rule is just a California specific rule. I mean, I'm sure there are other similar programs in some states that
They want to see if California fails. The concept I think is great, but it's still got to be not for first responders. It's, for everybody, everyday commuters and drivers, and it's just got to be a choice also. I think a lot of people would make that choice if they could, but crazy.
All right. Well, next time you go to one of those meetings, just see if anybody can throw a dart at the future date when first responders that are exempt now are going to be asked to comply. And what is that going to do to the calculation?
Yeah, I will. I'll ask that question. Incidentally, if LA Department of Water and Power put all their vehicles on the grid to charge them, we'd need a whole new,
We don't
a
have,
couple, like 4 megawatts of power that we don't have currently in the state. to
doesn't
be able to just charge
California
vehicles over there.
purchase most of their electricity out of state?
not most, but it's part of the mix.
And they're trying to decommission dams and stuff.
So you can imagine adding all first responder fleets to the mix. It's going to
Interesting.
change. Yeah. It's a waterfall, a massive waterfall.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good that you're trying to work with
I
CPPA. I think that's a great,
don't think it's a
decision.
waterfall at all. I mean, I'm old enough that I can remember when they had the firefalls in Yosemite.
Yeah.
They pushed the
Yeah.
burning
or an
debris.
avalanche, right. Yeah, yeah,
And so this is just like the Yosemite firefall.
yeah, that's more appropriate.
And you heard it here first. So,
okay.
hey, do we have any public comment on that?
Just a
Subject?
question, just a question on funding. Does any of this work that might be required fall under the auspices of the Inflation Reduction Act and the infrastructure and loans and all of that stuff in there? Is that an avenue that we can at least tag and say, nope, or yeah, it does. Let's look into it further. Thank you.
Yeah, so that money is spread across different agencies and different programs. And so it's entirely possible that Infrastructure Act funding may be available for this type of infrastructure upgrade. And that's what I think this data will help us go and get that, whether it's an EPA program, California Energy Commission program. You know, there's going to be different sources of different programs that money gets funneled through. And we'll be looking at that to fund this because we don't want to pay for it with water rates.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment? Any further
No,
questions?
good, thank you.
Okay, let's move
Thank you,
on
guys.
to 4D, this discussion regarding the interagency purchasing pooling. Damon.
Yeah, so this came to my attention. We've talked about this in the
Yeah.
past and in multiple different ways. So just to kind of highlight how the district purchases material now. So we leverage best price. We work multiple vendors, essentially, I wouldn't say against each other, but we're always trying to work to ensure that we have the best price. So what often happens with material vendors is they might give you a reduced cost or a cheaper item with the hope that you're going to buy the other widgets from them as well. And that's where they're going to receive their markup and receive some profit. So for example, if a fire hydrant is, $30 off per hydrant, we're going to buy 5 of them. They're going to take that dollar amount and put it on a repair clamp. And perhaps we're going to buy the repair clamps from them. So what CCWD often does is we'll kind of talk to different vendors and we'll say, hey, so-and-so, we can get this hydrant from so-and-so for X price. Can you beat it? And if they can, great. If they can't, we'll purchase the hydrant from this vendor and we'll purchase the repair clamp from this vendor. When we start to think about pooling that purchase with our partners in the county, we don't see a reduction in cost because of the fact that we're usually buying orders of magnitude more of material than they are. And so, one of the challenges that's associated with just an incidental kind of approach to buying and then to providing to others is where do you store it? If another utility says, hey, we need X 15 items and they get delivered here, but our purchasing agent is out in the field and somebody from the field drives up and puts 2 of those items in their truck, so the logistics get really convoluted really fast. And so ultimately it ends up not being a cost savings for the district or for the other utility for that matter to try to buy smallish items. That doesn't, and the same goes for chemicals and the same goes for fuel. However, in an emergency, obviously, we're always going to work together with each other and kind of sort out the details later to make sure that folks have what they need. We're in the midst of the meeting and there's a fire in Tuolumne County right now, right next to the regional waste facility. And we're talking to the director of ops over there and saying, if you guys need anything, we're here to provide, whatever we can for you. So that is always going to exist. And I think the kind of the approach to, hey, kind of sharing information with each other in order to ensure optimal prices is always going to happen as well. One of the things that's changed in recent years since COVID is that while we do ask for quotes from material suppliers year over year, we get those quotes, they don't honor necessarily the same quotes that they used to, just due to the kind of the variability of supply and demand within the material. So, for example, repair clamps can cost X dollar now, like 6 months from now, if they run into another material shortage, they're going to change. And then we're going to actually have to adapt and move to another vendor. So It's a really dynamic work environment right now for our purchasing agent. And so we're not really able to realize cost savings through pooling purchases now. However, one of the things that, he has talked about, and perhaps in the future, there's an opportunity to get together with the other utilities in the county and just talk to basically, rather than say, we're all going to settle on one manufacturer or one type of product, it's more about, hey, here's all the items that we purchase year over year. Give us a proposal countywide for these items, and we'll do our best to work with you as a vendor in order to realize cost savings for everybody. Doesn't mean we're going to purchase items for another entity. We're just going to try to ensure a reduced cost by saying that all of these folks are going to look at you first. Now, the logistics of that are to be determined, but that's one way that we can kind of reduce the unwieldy component of trying to buy things for other folks. It's a thought.
Yep.
Okay, Damon, thanks for explaining that. I wanted to get some feedback on that because of the stated purpose of this committee was to work with other partner agencies. And so I guess not too surprisingly, I can remember similar discussions taking place over there at the senior citizens lunch facility 18 years ago that people were saying, no, there's opportunities there, but so far nobody's ever taken advantage of it. And now I can see the difficulties that might arise. So, all you have to do is, build a house in this environment, and the main panel that you budgeted $400 for, you can only find one in Northern California. You got to spend $1,300 for it. It's just,
I appreciate that. And that doesn't diminish the fact that our folks are not comparing notes with all of our neighbors and our friends and colleagues and saying, hey, how do you guys do this? We're having trouble with this item. This is getting really expensive. I mean, that's how we enter into agreements like with Enterprise, or we discover other ways to skin the cat to try to reduce costs overall. And that will continue to happen.
Yeah. That's kind of a natural occurrence, quite frankly, with your relationships.
Yep. Absolutely.
We did have a fairly lengthy discussion about the enterprise leasing program, or the purchase, what they call it, the time purchase agreement, or whatever. We got corrected on that. But is there any remote possibility that we could have a Me Too type of an agreement with Enterprise, that one of our sister agencies is looking for a 3/4 ton pickup or a dump truck that they could say, hey, can you help these guys out? Or
So we have referred Enterprise to quite a few of our colleagues in the region, and some the county uses Enterprise, and as does Amador Water Agency. I don't know the status of any relationships with other local folks, but that's kind of a routine thing, is trying to share the benefits of the program with our friends and neighbors. The other thing is if we have a vehicle we're ready to sell, we don't have to sell it through Enterprise. So if we have some folks that are, in the market for vehicles, we can put that vehicle on public purchase, and they can purchase that rather than push those vehicles through Enterprise for sale and reinvestment in the program.
okay.
So if there's kind of a unique scenario, other folks can bid on those items, but at the same time, it's helpful to know that there's going to be an option for local folks.
Okay, you used the term public sale?
Public purchase.
Yeah,
Purchase?
we would have to surplus the vehicle and sell it through the normal channels.
Yep.
But the normal channels would or would not include individuals?
You can sign up into public purchase and purchase through public agencies. You can buy material and equipment from them.
Yeah, they're available to the public at that point.
Absolutely.
With the enterprise program currently, would we have to surplus those vehicles to sell them back to Enterprise?
But we have to look
I don't know.
at that. I think we probably should, yeah.
It-
Each
it's-
time we sell
If you're gonna trade it in.
property, we surplus it.
And it is in our policy. The policy was amended when the program was implemented in 2019
Oh,
to allow for the resale right back to enterprise.
Okay, without the surplus
That's
situation.
correct. And that's one way to kind of reduce the cost of the program overall, is you take the equity earned from the
Right.
purchase of those vehicles and you roll it into the program.
That's
Yeah.
right. I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Wow, we were thinking ahead.
Well, now you
Yeah, yeah.
remembered.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
Okay,
I'm good.
public comments on this report.
Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the general manager comments.
Oh, you got somebody else on.
Oh, somebody else? Raise their hand.
Yeah, hi, Mike Rogers from Valley
hi,
Springs. A quick question for Damon. You talked about sharing of information and resources with other agencies. Do you guys talk about spares and parts? I mean, my experience, you go into a parts department and they've got stuff that's been sitting on the shelf for years. I mean, are there opportunities there where, the district can buy something from another agency they no longer need or use at 50 cents on the dollar? Do we have any visibility to that?
Great question. So we do that all the time. Usually it's through eBay or some public purchase online resource, but we also do kind of purge the inventory every year and we'll put items for sale on public purchase. If it's not going to be scrapped, it's going to be publicly sold. And then we're doing the same thing. We're kind of looking, I can get, 100 of these on eBay or on Craigslist even, or I can get it on public purchase for X dollar amount. That's always kind of continually happening. Yep.
Yeah, so there's rules that limit what we can do as public agencies. We have to comply with the surplus property process.
Yep. Yep. But we still compare notes with folks. So, like, hey, how many of these do you keep on the shelf? We have 10 of these from, 1985. What did you guys do with yours? We're always doing that. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to general manager comments.
So we've got in terms of more regional partnership activities, Aqua Region 3 is it 2 and 3 or 3 and 4? 2 and 3 sponsoring a joint program tomorrow in Roseville that is I'm really looking forward to it, talking about conjunctive use and in a really comprehensive way from headwaters to groundwater. And so I'm looking forward to learning from that. Mount County's also has a couple of events coming up, and a reception next week, and then an executive leadership program later in the month. And we're working on a joint legislative tour that we're targeting the first week in October right now, that would include visits to CCWD facilities, Utica and UPUD, and hopefully we're hoping for multiple members of the state legislature to participate in that event. And then a lot of discussion right now among the Highway 4 agencies. We're working on an MOU and a scope of work for the regional water supply study that we're coordinating with City of Angels Camp, Utica Water and Power, and UPUD on that work effort. And there's a lot of different components to that. So it'll be interesting to see how we sequence it and prioritize. But it's a lot of good discussions happening there. And then I think that's my report.
Did you want to inform this committee about the NCPA report that you and
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I think we'll talk about it at the next full board meeting. But yeah, Kelly and I gave a presentation at the NCPA commission meeting Thursday last week. Kelly, as we've come to expect, knocked it out of the park in terms of his presentation and the materials that were presented to NCPA. We had talked a lot about really what we were trying to achieve and what we were trying to convey in that presentation. And it really was an education effort for the NCPA commission members who may not be, closely familiar with who CCWD is and the history of the North Fork project, and also really making sure that they all understand not just who we are and the history of the project, but just how important the project is, not only the CCWD, but the history of Calaveras County is in, significant part shaped by the development of that project. And so really well received. We got a lot of good feedback. I think we definitely achieved those objectives, and it'll be a stepping stone. I think it'll develop into a public facing presentation. I mean, that was a public presentation, but this one will be, maybe later this year. It's a town hall or it's a workshop that is focused on starting to develop a public outreach campaign related to the North Fork project and our relicensing work. I think the work that Kelly put into that presentation last week is going to build into those efforts as well. So, thank you for being there, President Thomas.
That was a enjoyable barbecue on Wednesday, and also attending the board meeting on Thursday was eye-opening for me. See all those folks who enjoy coming to Calaveras County and spending their money.
Yeah.
So
I look forward to seeing that presentation. So you're going to have that at the meeting?
We weren't planning on delivering that presentation, although we could. Let's talk about it. Let's see what the best way to do that is.
Or wait
to
till the-
share it with the board.
Wait till the last meeting of the month, because I'm not going to be at the meeting on the 14th, but I could call in and listen.
Yeah, and actually, speaking of board meetings in August, one more thing I'll mention. I think I might have mentioned this last board meeting, or maybe I didn't. Kelly gave a really good presentation at a Mountain Counties event a few months ago, and that led to a lot of agencies asking for the presentation and commenting on how great of a presentation it was, and an invitation from our friends at TUD who asked if Kelly could give a version of that presentation at their board meeting next month. So we'll be there
Awesome.
on the 13th. I think it's the day before our first meeting in August. We'll be at TUD to have a discussion on wildfire issues. So looking forward to that as well.
over in Sonora.
Yes.
Okay, you mentioned a legislative tour that was, you were thinking about that it would occur on during the first week of October? Is that what you said?
Yes. So I think right now tentatively scheduled for October 2nd, which I believe is the
Okay.
Thursday before Grape Stomp. So a little bit busy in that corridor. 3rd. Yeah. So I don't think that's solid yet though. It kind of depends on legislative members.
But I won't be able to attend this, but this is happening on the 4th of October, so avoid that party barbecue.
Oh, party.
Yeah. Party. All right, does that conclude your report?
Yes.
Director Cicada.
Yeah, I just need to update that I will be out of town for the meeting on the 14th. And if I need to, I can call in. But if I don't have to, I don't want to, but I can if something, that you need me to listen in on. And then the finance meeting on the 20th the following week, if we can consider rescheduling that for me, I come back that day. Either make it later in the day or another day, but if not, the alternate can step in. And I can call in, I think, at least.
Okay.
I
Let's
don't know, they're going over the hill. I may not be able to get good service, but
talk to
just
Bertha
a note. And then
But that's Michael's birthday.
when the 21st,
20th. Yeah.
All
I
right,
was
let's
looking forward
reschedule
to
it then.
I was really looking forward to a finance committee
Yeah, let's
birthday
reschedule that.
celebration, but
Well, just
we
put it
can
on
move
your
it.
thing and we can talk about it. I just
Yeah.
wanted to throw it out there. We're friend, they're gonna do a little
Maybe that
vacation.
Thursday, but let's talk to,
Or
we'll,
the,
we'll look at that.
So you're coming back the 20th. So if we were to do.
yeah, I
it
leave
later
the
that
13th, come back the 20th, and
Okay.
we're just gonna be over in Lake Tahoe. I mean,
So if
really
we do it later
calling
that
might
week,
be
that might-
hard.
That might work better. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, if you can, if not, we have alternates, to fill in. And then,
I was really looking forward to the birthday.
okay, we'll cancel, reschedule and do his birthday.
No, we're gonna have a birthday here.
Oh, that.
The finance committee has all the cash.
funds.
so-
Yeah.
I don't think so.
That's the
And
committee.
then,
control part.
just one real quick question. So regarding the grand jury stuff, we're gonna be doing that in the open meetings, or is there gonna be anything?
There'll be more
given it-
discussion of that. Yeah.
Okay, so our next meeting, maybe discuss it the way forward.
Yeah, I don't think we've nailed down a timeline on that yet, but
Okay.
we'll be bringing it back for sure.
Okay, that's it for me.
Okay, Kelly, it really is very obvious to me that you enjoy this work on this website. So, is there any chance we could work out a pay schedule so that you don't have to pay us so much to do that work? So, since you enjoy it so much, I'm trying to give you a left-handed compliment here, but anyway, you make us look pretty good, and I appreciate it. Yeah,
It does look really good, Kelly.
and with the emphasis of he makes us look pretty
Sure.
good.
CCWD as a whole,
Well,
board members.
no, I think
Unless we do
that,
bios or something, right?
but there hasn't been too far in the recent past that the board was getting, I don't know, maybe with some justification beat up pretty badly, but anyway, we're trying to put our best foot forward, and couldn't have a better person helping us with that effort than Kelly Gerkensmeyer. So thank you. Oh, and if you can save us from the clean fleet expenditures, man.
And Rebecca running the mega desk and,
All right,
a
our
lot of
next,
people are priceless around here.
yeah, that's for sure. Our next meeting is scheduled to be Tuesday, August 27th, 1 o'clock. So with that, I think this meeting is adjourned
Okay.
officially. Thanks for the public participation.